to Fire Caves After Dark. This is our live stuff that we do that's going directly to our YouTube channel. And this is all the stuff that we really didn't get to talk about in the podcast that we just did earlier. So it's going to be a little bit different. It's a bit more just about other sci fi stuff in general as well. Plus, there may be some drinking involved. So really just sit back, relax, and enjoy talking with us as we, just kind of hang out for a bit.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, David, how has your week been so far?
It's been fine. Work has been unfortunately slow, which is unfortunate. But I also got my numbers for last month, and they were very nice. Good numbers last month. I mean, Labor Day in the retail industry, particularly the furniture and mattress industry, is the best time of year. So
Mhm.
yeah, it was nice to get the official numbers about how well I did and be like, oh yeah, it really was good. I mean, at least compared to other people. I mean, not that they had bad times either. We all did really well, it looks like, but I was still up there, which felt nice. Felt like, yeah, I'm contributing and able to be a good part of the team. And other than that, though, got a chance to read some of The Expanse, the first book,
Yeah,
Leviathan
yeah,
Wakes, which we mentioned last time. So I'm looking forward to talking about that. But what's up with you? Anything with
absolutely.
you?
I mean, actually, I would say it's been a boring week, but like I'm in this weird I, part where I guess I'm realizing I have a lot of like job satisfaction. I really enjoy my job now. It's been a long time coming. I've worked in a lot of different jobs, and David, you and I worked together before, and I think this is the first time in probably 10 years I think that I've really enjoyed my work. So
Wow. Okay.
it's been weird noticing that about myself because I don't want to feel like I'm just one of those people, I guess. I don't know why I had this weird thing about people who like enjoy their jobs, and now that I'm one of them, it's I don't know, it's very disconcerting. But then like uh all this month I've been committing myself to the whole, get a mile in every day, whether you walk it, jog it, whatever it is that you do, get a mile in. I've been doing that, really enjoying it. Today I went to a new park in Georgetown. Took a while to find because even though the map was like, you're right on it, the street where I was like it was higher up, at a higher elevation than where the park actually was, and I'd never been in an area before, so I didn't know that. So I was like walking all around, and of course, I'm using the GPS on my phone trying to find this place, and my phone is just like pinging like crazy. 'Cause it's like you're there, you're here, and it
Right.
took me forever to find the path that led actually down, and then it was beautiful. It was very nice. Plan
Right.
on going back up there probably next week with my kid and just letting us hang out. There's a whole little like swimming area and everything else. I think she'll really enjoy that, and at least get to do that before the weather totally turns, because in Texas it stays hot for a while, but then all of a sudden it's just super cold. So, and we haven't really had the opportunities for swimming or anything like that, so I'm looking forward to that.
Right.
um and then, yeah, just like you, I have been reading Leviathan Wakes. I
Yeah.
had a bit of a slow start at first, but the book has really picked up, and I'm so glad that this has been like the new thing for us. So
Yeah.
yeah. Um, how far in it are you?
I'm about halfway done. I mean, I have a lot of time at work, especially because I said it was been slow this week. So I'm literally about halfway. Um, but I started watching the first episode tonight before we started recording, guys. I was eating dinner to compare it, and as I've already told you, so I'm glad we can talk about it more. I really feel like they did a great job. Like the book is paced very well. As you and
Yes.
I have already talked about it, it's so readable. Like I was just flipping pages, flipping. Like I'm just going. Like I'm having no trouble. Like I don't want it to down. Like when I was intentionally, frankly, slowing myself down, being like, okay, I can't get too far ahead of Perry because then we're not able to talk about it. But it was like it's a great read. And then when I watch the show and I watch like clips from the show and I watched this first episode, it's like they made smart changes to the story to make it more cinematic, which is fantastic. Like the show is sticking to the book, from what I can tell, like pretty well. But they have made changes. Like they weren't afraid to make changes to the story in order to make it work for a cinematic experience, and they make the characters a little deeper. But I don't like begrudge the show that. I've already watched the show. I've already watched. You and I have already seen all 6 seasons. Anyone who's listening, the show has been the finale of the show was season 6. And so that's been out for a while now, and so there will be spoilers probably for at least the first bit of this book and the show from us. But if you haven't watched the show or haven't read the books, go do it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean you definitely should. You are cheating yourself. As I was saying just a little bit ago, it's an easy read, but I don't mean that in the sense that like it's like a dumbed down book or anything like that. It
Right.
just flows so well. It reads like a TV show with the way that everything is mapped out. It's no wonder
Right.
that this was turned into a TV show. It
Yeah.
just works, and
Right.
you should definitely read this and then watch the show. I did the same thing. I didn't like actually watch the first episode again, but I went to YouTube and I kind of just picked a couple of scenes from the first episode to kind of match
Right.
where I was in reading. And
Right.
again, they do a great job. The whole watching Julie Mao escape from her imprisonment, the way it's described in the book matches what they have her doing in the scene.
Yes.
Um, the the Canterbury and what happens there. I mean, it's a cleaner shot that we see,
Right.
but it makes a lot of sense, and it takes away nothing from the impact in the
Right.
story or any of it. So I mean, it's been really great. I
Right.
I I love the show. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, but I can already see why. As everybody always says, books are better than the whatever. This is it's true.
Right.
So go read the books. Go
Yeah.
read the books. I can't wait to get to the other ones. I can't wait to see where it starts to diverge a bit. And I also can't
Yes.
wait to like actually finish the series because I know that the TV show did not truly finish.
Right. This the
And so there
so there are
yeah,
9 books. There are 6 seasons. So you would think that if they're doing 1 book per season, they would have 3 more seasons. But again, I don't know this for sure. But my understanding is there's like a time jump from book 6 to 7, which might mean that the show has like a soft stop, like a soft finale. But if they're gonna do like they're gonna jump into that future timeline from the later books by waiting a few years in the real world. That sounds awesome. I don't know if that's what they've done or if I totally misunderstand the timeline of the books. But if that is what happens in the books and it is what they're doing for the show, I am so down because the show is so good. Oh man, anyone who hasn't watched The Expanse, you're missing out. It's a great show, and I'm loving the fact
yeah,
that the books seem to be just as good, um, and just as enjoyable.
yeah, absolutely. I can't sing enough praises to it. And as someone who also has this aspiration to write their own novel, I tell you, it's nice to read and like kind of get an idea for pacing and flow because I think that's probably one of the hardest things that you struggle with when you're trying to form your own stories and stuff is to
Right,
make things work. And I've been doing a lot of not just reading but also research when it comes to like writing and formulating your story and things like that. And I find that I fall into a common misstep, it seems, of where I try to do too much when it comes to describing setting and location and things like that, and it
right,
comes off as very forced.
right,
Finding examples like in this book where you need so much of that to understand what's going on, and seeing
right.
how well they did it, where it's not like you don't have 6 pages that are describing the setting. You've got
Right.
it broken up. It's interspersed in different bits and pieces with
Sprinkled out. Yeah.
yeah, with action and with dialogue and with character development too. So I'm again loving every single bit of this.
Right.
Go and read these books right now. We are in no way being sponsored or whatever by
Nope.
Amazon, by The Expanse, by James Comey, by or James Corey. Sorry, um, not at all. Right? None
Right.
of that is happening. We just are really enthusiastic about what they've done for us here.
Right.
So I might
Yeah.
watch The Expanse later tonight.
I really do
Might
plan on
start it
at this
over.
point like rewatching the show while reading the books just to see the differences. Like
Yeah,
there are differences, but again, I'm not the differences are made for reasons to make the show more visually appealing as opposed to like for example in a book you can hear the characters thoughts, you can see what they're thinking, you can get their emotional reaction on the inside. A show doesn't have that opportunity. but it does also give us a chance to also see more action-based things. And
Hmm.
anyone who knows the show, I mean, the books do this, but the show really emphasizes it. They really emphasize the physicality of of space. The ships, in order to artificially give gravity, the ships accelerate using their thrusters, which artificially gives gravity. But that means that if they go faster than what feels like gravity, it hurts. It's painful. Um, they have to turn the ships around to a 180 and then slow the ship down the other way in order to give gravity.
Hmm.
The guns are so good. Oh my gosh! So I want to watch the show again.
I'm
Well, read the
going to.
books.
I've already
Yeah,
committed in my head. I know I'm going to. And one
yeah,
thing you also need that you get from the books that you don't get anywhere else is also explanations for a couple things. Like you were saying, we get the internal monologues of the characters, sure, but there's also some like in-universe things that they say in the show, but they never explain. And one of those in particular that always piqued my interest was the juice, which we
yes,
see it, we hear about it multiple times on the show,
right,
but it's never explained what it is and why it's
right,
necessary. You're
right,
kind of left to infer what that is, but it's never clearly explained. However,
right,
in the book, it is, and it
right.
makes perfect sense.
And why it's so
And
painful, and
right,
why it's yeah, and that
what it
yeah.
does, and all of it, it was great. It was exactly the books give you the definite filler you need to make the universe that you've been watching more complete because now you truly understand
Right,
certain dialogues, idioms, lingo.
right,
For all of you fans of the Belters and the way that they talk, the books help you out way more because again, it's not something that's
Belta
really
Lauda.
explained. Yes, it's not something that's really explained in the show, and to see the way that they do it in the books and how it's just kind of this mixture of dialogues and
Right,
languages and everything else that comes into play. Like I remember in the book in particular, with Miller, he was talking to somebody and they changed from English to German
Creole.
to Spanish to
Yeah,
Creole to just all in the space of like a page, and I was just like,
right,
wow, okay, so
yeah.
it really does help. So obviously we're fawning a lot over these books, fanboying, I guess would be the term that you would use. But I'm excited to read it. Yeah, yeah. You said you're about halfway through. You're definitely further ahead than I am. I just hit page 100.
Right.
But I will I will be making my way. I will get this done, of course. I'm enjoying it. It reads so fast. Like you don't I mean, I hit 100 pages without even realizing, like, I think I did the majority of that today because I had a 2-hour window today where I was absolutely doing nothing,
Right.
and so I used it to read, and yeah,
Well, yeah, it's funny because I've also like while I was trying not to read too far ahead, I also have another book I'm reading, which is more like a well one of like a philosophy book, which is just something I've been trying to read, and it's so dense. And another book which is like a political book, and again, it's not fiction. It's totally different genre, and it's not as readable in that sense. It doesn't flow because it's not meant to flow in the same way. Like you have to read all the words in full to get the full context of what's being said, as opposed to like a fictional book where you can get a sense of what's happening and just flow with it. And it's just been fun to like go back and forth and just like yeah, the Expanse
what's the
books just
philosophy
flow.
book? What's the philosophy book you're reading?
Oh man, if you want to go there, so um, Edmund Burke is a British. He was a British parliamentarian who also wrote what was called Reflections on the Revolution in France, which was it's like 200 pages in this book of mine, but it was a response to the French Revolution. He thought the French Revolution was a bad idea, and history has taught us that that was right. The French Revolution turned into the terror and the guillotine and all that. But before all that had really happened, in the first, the French Revolution was getting started, he wrote this like pamphlet basically, which again was 200 pages, and explained why he thought it was a bad idea because it was popular at the time, especially in England, to think that this was going to be like a worldwide revolution because the American Revolution had just happened. But anyway, point being, it's written in older English syntax and so it's harder to read because they talk in long sentences, and they, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, they're so detailed when they talk about something. Like they didn't have a sense back then of like summarizing or being condensing their language. Instead, they went the opposite direction. It's like they want to hit every detail and they make
Yeah,
sure they talk about everything. So they, it's just a lot. There's just a lot.
kinda
It's been
reminds me of,
interesting, but
The Count of Monte Cristo. That was kind of the format of that book. There's just
right,
it's giving you literally every single detail, down to
right,
the way that, someone is twirling their hair, or the frill of a dress, or the way the breeze moved through the street, or whatever, and it's everything, and it's oddly great because it really does help you visualize not just the scene, but also kind of the life of that era, of that
right,
time. But yeah, totally different from how things are written and portrayed today. We definitely summarize. We're more about getting to the point. And when you find those things that are more ornate and flowery, I guess, more decorative with their descriptions and language and like that, I mean, you typically don't really see that unless it's in, like, again, like a fantasy genre. Nothing really that's contemporary and based in real world does that anymore.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, interesting. I might follow up with you on that one. Check it out myself. Who knows? I'm always
Okay,
interested in things like that, but we'll see.
okay.
I did want to talk about in Trek world, especially considering we just talked about the episode civil defense. The meme that was born from this episode, which we didn't get to, and that is, of course,
Oh,
the picture of Gul Dukat's face on the monitor, and the attention Bajoran workers, and how that became used for, I mean, everything. And in fact, since we are getting near another political cycle here in the United States, with elections coming up in November, I would not be surprised at all if that one started making the rounds again. It's often used with very, draconian language, but it's
right.
always fun. It's always fun. So
Yeah. Oh,
I
this
can't
this
wait to see
episode
it.
definitely that meme would I haven't seen the meme. At least I don't recognize it at the moment. But yeah, that means that very heavily into that. So that
Oh,
makes
I
sense.
might have to find several. I'll find several and send them to you. But I mean, it works so well, and I love it. I remember one from last year that it was like, if you vote for so and so, I guarantee that you won't be harmed, which is something that he kept saying throughout the episode.
Right.
You
Yeah.
won't be harmed. So it's funny, but obviously memes have their own little usage and stuff like that. But I love seeing things like that, and of course, Ducat and what he embodies is
Right.
perfect for stuff like that.
Right.
So look
I've
forward to
already
that.
we've already talked about the Picard memes, the face palm and the handout speaking. You know, why would you do that? It's him doing Shakespeare, but the face palm one and that one are my favorites. At least the ones that I know of.
I like
They're
that one,
just
and
classic.
I have a I have a favorite one that's Worf, and it's a response meme. So whenever anybody posts something and they're like, I would never, whatever it is, right? I would never do this, I'd never do that, whatever. Then you can just post the picture of War from response, and it's a close up of his face, and he says, "Then die in ignorance. I can no longer waste any time on you." And it's great. It's a great response.
Right.
I remember I saw it posted in response to, like, some anti-vaxxer something or another. I would never vaccinate my kids and whatever else. And someone just posted it and it was like, yeah, then die in ignorance. I can waste no more time on you. And I was like, real cold, man, but I love it. I love seeing Star Trek used. It cuts you, but it was great. So that one, I definitely love the Picard face palm one. And then there's one that comes out around Christmas that I like to see. And I've only seen it once, and I hope to see it again. I might have to recreate it myself. But it's, the Elf on the Shelf.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's this whole series of memes that's like, you've heard of Elf on the Shelf, now get ready for, and then it's whatever, right? Someone's come up with a new whatever. There was one that I saw that I loved, and it was, you've heard of Elf on the Shelf, now get ready for, and it was
Yeah.
Riker, and he was on a motorcycle, and it took me a minute, and I was like, Riker on a motorcycle, I don't get it, and it was Riker on a biker, and I cracked up when it's like when it hit my head. what it was, I just laughed so hard. So I
On a
love all of
biker.
those.
I
Yeah,
mean,
because
biker on
he
a
was sitting
bike.
on the no, he was sitting on the
The
actually,
handlebars.
if I remember correctly, he wasn't sitting on the motorcycle. There was like a motorcycle had the biker on it, and then he was doing his classic Riker
That's
one
right.
leg up,
Yes.
and he
Yes.
was
Riker on
on
a
the
biker.
biker.
That makes more
Right.
sense. Yes, that's okay.
And
Yeah.
I died because it took me a minute to when I realized like what is he doing? Like I don't get it. And then boom, lightning hit, and I laughed. I laughed so hard.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Riker's classic leg up, lean
Yes.
in,
Even right
stepping
now,
over.
while I was trying to tell you everything, I'm sitting here like trying to do it while
Yeah.
I'm talking about it. It's just such a man. Riker's a great character. We're going to have a whole other thing for Riker one day.
I know.
That's for sure.
Yeah. He's a
Um,
great character.
but speaking of Riker, we have to talk about Star Trek Picard because they just dropped the latest trailer for
Oh,
Picard,
nice.
and it looks great. And they've revealed the new villain, and everybody's back, and everybody looks great. Even an oldie but a goodie villain, Moriarty returns.
Really? Oh,
Yes,
wow.
and
Okay.
it's
Man.
the original actor who played him way back when, but Moriarty is back, and he appears to be just as dangerous, if not more so. So we're gonna get an
He was
update on
left in a
Moriarty.
box. Last time I
Yeah.
saw him, he was in a box. How is he back?
Well, we're going to get an update as to what Moriarty's been up to all this time. And then, of course, we get to see all of our friends back again. And I am looking forward to Worf, of course. Even in the trailer, he looked great. He did say something that upset me a little bit, um, but I'll wait to see how it plays out. He said he was a pacifist. I, I don't want to hear that. I
No.
don't want to hear Worf was a pacifist. I mean, you could just be older and not want to fight so much, but don't tell me you're a pacifist. Whip out that bat'leth and start slaying people, man. That's what I'm here for.
Right.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
But if you haven't seen the trailer yet, you should go watch it. Have you watched Picard at all?
No, I guess I haven't because I haven't watched like the movies yet and stuff like that. So I
Mm,
feel like I'm not quite caught up
okay. I
enough
mean,
to
that's
really.
fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Okay. Well,
Once
I mean,
we get there and I watch through the movies, I'll be happy to. I mean, by the time we finish recording Deep Space Nine content, it'll be at least another year or two before we're able to get to the very end. And then maybe we near the
well,
end we can watch Picard as well and do like recap
yeah.
episodes on After Dark like this. So
Well, yeah, I mean, once you're past generations, you can pretty much watch the movies whenever you want. The other movies don't really have anything to do with anything else, so you can watch
okay,
those whenever. Generations is the only one that you need to watch to get through the next part of Deep Space Nine, and we're coming up on that anyway, so you'll be fine
gotcha. Okay,
on that point.
very good, very good.
Um, and so yeah, last but not least, did wanted to give a quick, Picard versus Cisco here because that's our favorite, and even in this episode, Civil Defense, as I said earlier, we saw a bit of that, like when Cisco was trapped in the room and they were ramming the door with that little trolley thing or whatever. I really don't think that Jean-Luc would have done anything like that. He wouldn't have been
No,
so hands-on.
no,
He would have been ordering other people. In fact, in that scene, if I could put three people who would have been in that scene, if this was a TNG episode, it would have been Picard, Data, and probably Worf to
I was
round
gonna
it out.
say that's
Yeah,
exactly right. Yep, I was also
and we would.
thinking maybe young Crusher will
Yeah,
Crusher
I
might
could.
have been there.
Yeah, but for the sake of having someone be very physical right away, it would need to be Worf, who would have
Right,
immediately tried to force the door, and it didn't
right.
work. But see, then having
He would know
Data,
that we could blow the door. We could blow the door with the
well, they would. I don't even think they would have had to do that because Data is way stronger,
right.
and it's been proven over and over again. He's stronger. He's certainly stronger than Worf, and
Yeah,
he probably would have just been able to force the door open, and then
right,
the next thing, if Data couldn't open the door, then they would have started looking at how can we mechanically, work out a tech solution to get this door open.
right,
But yeah, it never would have occurred to them first and foremost, all three of them behind this thing ramming it the way that Cisco, Jake, and O'Brien were doing it.
right,
Not at all.
right.
Not at all. And then, yeah, they certainly wouldn't have stayed locked out for very long because Data just plug his brain into the station and he would have rewired everything anyway. So a lot of clever little cheats and stuff. Like once you think about them, it's just like so obvious, and it's like that. This is why this crew would never work here,
Right.
because they're so used to streamline things that they just out tech themselves.
Right.
You know, they never would have
Right.
worked.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. They would have definitely responded differently, and
Yeah,
Picard and Cisco would have been at the forefront of why. Like when I say I like the fact that Cisco was the one who brought this episode to a conclusion, Picard wouldn't have been the one to really crawl through there and have done the thing. Like that was a Geordi Data
yeah,
type thing. So the fact that O'Brien is knocked unconscious briefly while he's trying to crawl through there as well. Like maybe Geordi would have been knocked out and Data has to do it, but not Picard. Picard wouldn't have been the guy.
yeah. Picard never
So
would have entered in there. There would have been a third or fourth unknown crewman or whatever, somebody that would have needed to be
heck, even Riker
consoled in
would have
some way.
done it. Yeah,
Yeah,
Riker. I
like
mean, he wouldn't
Picard.
have fit in the tube very well.
So is this more of a difference in command style, or is it a difference in age? Because Cisco is way more hands-on than Picard is. And I mean, you could
Command
definitely say
style.
there's something about experience, but I just feel like I mean, I think an argument can be made either way, but feel like Cisco is just more hands-on because he's also younger.
Cisco is younger, therefore. Well, I
Yeah,
feel like that's yeah. Well, I would say it's more the style of who they are is the main difference, but I think that is in part because of the age difference. I mean, not the definitive reason, but part of the overall reason. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's always been one of the mainstays about the two characters, and I've always tried to figure that out. Is it age or is it command style? And I mean, you could almost say that one kind of goes with the other because we know that when Picard was younger, he was a much more physical individual, and then of course as he gained more experience, and of course over time, he just had to put that aside for a while. And let's also not forget that Picard is significantly older than people ever really think or realize. At the start of the show, Picard is supposed to be 59 years old. He's just shy of 60 while he's, doing all the stuff that we see him do over the next 7 seasons, you
Right.
know. Whereas Cisco, when this show starts out, he's 39, so big age difference, big
Yeah.
age difference between the two of them. But yeah, that's why I always wonder, like, you know what? How great would this episode have been if the Enterprise had been visiting, and for some reason the people trapped had been Picard and Cisco in the ore refinery, having to
Right.
work together to figure their way out of the situation.
I'm telling you, man, I wish we could have had an episode like that. I was
Yeah,
thinking I want Lieutenant Rowe. I still want Lieutenant Rowe, but I know that will never happen.
so we have so many like really great characters who I feel like they were cheated just because of the time in which they were on the show. Like the show is great, don't get me wrong, but the level of, I guess, guts it would have taken for a showrunner to put Picard and Cisco together, they just didn't have it in the 90s. That was it would have been seen as wildly inappropriate. It's not how things are done, whatever. But now we love that kind of stuff. We love seeing powerful characters who under normal circumstances would never meet, would never work together, and suddenly they're forced to. They're at odds. I'm thinking, of course, Battlestar Galactica, the reboot, and we saw Admiral Kane, which is also Michelle Forbes, our Ensign Rowe here, all grown up basically.
Mhm.
Admiral Kane and Commander Adama, when they
Mama.
were forced to come together and start to work together, but then we saw how that went, how that
Right.
ended. So yeah, things like that, I would just love to see it. And
Right.
it's a shame that we won't get to with Avery Brooks and Patrick Stewart. I mean, I
Yeah.
hold out hope that the captains find there to be a reason that all the captains have to do something and get together, kind of like a Doctor Who esque type deal where the captains have to be together, but it'll never happen. Unfortunately, it'll never happen.
Can't think of it. Yeah.
Ultimate hero
Who
worship right
knows?
there.
Exactly.
Well, I think that's going to about wrap it up for us here on this Fire Caves After Dark. David, anything you want to say before we close it out?
Expanse, baby. If you need a good book, if you want to watch a great TV series, The Expanse is it. Go for it.
Absolutely. And you should watch it and you should join us because we are going to be talking about the books and the show as we move through this entire series, both the show series and the book series. So
Right.
you've got plenty of time. We're just getting started. Go get them. David ordered all of them on Amazon like a jerk already. Um, you know, but you can do that like him, or you can just pick one up, whatever. I mean, mine was gifted to me, so I can't really complain. But yeah, come and join us, and we'll see you back here the next time we do this. But yeah, until then, take care of yourselves.
Thanks, guys.